Hey everyone, welcome to Hand Rolled Real Estate. I'm Robbie. I'm here with Jay, and today we're going to talk about how to invest in rental properties in 2025.
Hey everyone, I'm Junaid Noor. Welcome to the show. So I think the first question we should ask Robbie is, should we be investing in rental properties in 2025?
You know, I agree with that. I mean, and that is the first question I think you should probably ask yourself is, you know, am I ready? You know, what am I looking to get out of rental properties in 2025?
So the market looks like it's going to be a mixed bag. Interest rates are going down, which is good for investors, but supply is still kind of pretty restricted. It's hard to get properties out there. But there's a lot of different types of asset classes that we'll go over, and there's a lot of different ways to kind of go around things and get the type of property that you're looking for that will fit your portfolio.
Yeah, and I think you have to kind of take a look at yourself and just decide, why am I investing in rental properties? Am I looking for cash flow? Am I looking for appreciation, generational wealth? And I think that might help you pick your asset class.
So let's get right into it. There's a lot of different asset classes for rental properties, but we're going to talk about the three main ones that our viewers have expressed their interest in. The first one is single family residential homes. The second one is short term rentals like the Airbnb. The third one is multifamily. And then we'll kind of dive deeper into each one. This episode will focus on just the single family residential.
So, how to invest in the rental properties is, going to have to take a few factors into account. One being time, one being money, and the other is your experience, and then how you're going to package this together. Whether you're going to do it alone with a partner, are you qualified? Have you been to the bank? Do you know what your money situation is? Things like that, and then obviously, have you done this before? Are you experienced enough to actually go out, do your due diligence, and understand, which property is the best choice for you?
So we'll start with the first step. The first step in going to purchase a single family residential for investment purposes is obviously find the property. Now, there are several ways that you can go find the property. Some people go and look on the multiple listing service, which you go and talk to a realtor, and the realtor goes out there and finds properties for you, which may be of interest to you. And then the second way, which the way I did it, and I had a lot of these single family residential properties I owned at one time, you go to what's called a wholesaler. And what the wholesaler does is they basically knock on doors and they find properties that are undervalued. They probably need work. And they go and make a deal with the seller, and then they make a deal with the buyer, which is you, and they make a spread in between.
I totally agree with your opinions on the wholesalers. They seem to bring a little bit more to the table, their experience, and a lot of those wholesalers have really been through a lot, and they kind of know what to look for. They're pretty good at understanding the values of the homes in the area, and I think if you're inexperienced, you're going to go out there and go get a traditional real estate agent. I think you're going to probably run into some challenges and some risk. And I totally agree with you that the wholesalers are the way to go.
Yeah, and when when I went and bought these single family homes, I all of my homes were purchased through the wholesalers because uh, the real estate agents will be able to find some good deals, but they're very far and few in between. And the margin, the amount of money you make on them might not be as you expect because at the end of the day, you're purchasing retail. The wholesalers, what they usually do is they'll go and they'll approach, maybe an elderly couple who wants to get out of the property, but they don't have the money to fix it up to bring it to market value. And they just want to get out and they'll, maybe the house is already paid off. They want to move to a warmer destination, or they want to or they want to downsize, and they just want to get out of the property. And so the wholesalers approach those kinds of people, and it's they negotiate a deal with them, they negotiate a deal with you, And you always find good deals with wholesalers.
You know, and because of your experience, and you make it sound easy, and we all know that's not the case. You can't just pick up the phone and dial that magic number, and poof, there's a wholesaler, right? They have a lot of customers. You know, you actually have to spend time and work that relationship, and actually make some transactions happen, right? And then you're going to move up on their list, and you're going to see better deals. But it takes time, and it takes establishing a relationship with that group.
Yeah, and lots of times I got outbid by somebody else on a property. But again, that goes to our next step, which is financing, right? Getting your financing lined up, and how do you figure out when to walk away from a property versus, not getting emotional and saying, okay, you know what, this other person is bidding it up. I'm going to bid it up even more, and that happens a lot.
You know, the number one thing I hear as an excuse for people not getting into the rental property game is, I can't afford it. I can't do it. And unless you know, you don't know, right? Get out, fill out the paperwork, get a pre-approval letter. I think you're going to be shocked with some of the deals these guys make. I mean, in some cases, you could see a 5% down payment. Others, probably more like 20, is going to be more realistic for commercial or for rental properties. But you might be surprised at some of the deals they can push through for you.
So I did a lot of my deals with very little down payment, but people need to understand that when you watch these other YouTube videos and TikToks about, oh, I could do it with zero money down. It's never zero money down. I did it with very little down payment, but I had to front load, and then I was able to get all that money back when I refinanced, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But at the end, my actual deposit, or my actual equity that I put in as far as cash goes into the project, was very little. But that's only because I front loaded a lot of that.
Yeah, and if you get into a situation and you find the right deal, and maybe you have the cash to get this deal closed, and if you don't, now you reach out to friends and families, and maybe try to get a partner to go in and come up with the capital and make that deal happen.
Yeah, and a third way to do it is hard money lenders. Now, hard money lenders sounds like, ooh, this is going to be really bad. This is going to be really bad. And yes, it can be really bad. Um, but hard money lenders are there in order to provide liquidity. They provide the cash for you so you can go to a wholesaler and close the deal on cash within a couple of weeks, instead of going to a bank and waiting 30 or 60 days to close. A hard money lender will also lend you the money based on the after repair value, which we call ARV, versus a traditional bank will only lend you, let's say they'll lend you 80% of your cost, right? Loan to cost. And a hard money lender will give you 80% of your after repair value. So that gives you enough money to be able to purchase the property and have money for renovations. Yes, the interest rates are high, but if you have a good crew and you know how to evaluate the property, which is the next step, you can get in and out within a few months and not have to incur a lot of interest payments.
Yeah, and I mean, the hard money lenders, they get the deals closed quick. After you've established a relationship, they really are focused on this single family homes, and they do a really good job, and they can really help you. Pairing with a good hard money lender, they can really help you get some deals closed that you otherwise couldn't get closed.
Yeah, no, because traditional banks will not, they're going to go through an appraisal process, and the house may not appraise, and then they'll give you less money, and then now you have a loan, you have a house that didn't appraise as where you wanted it to appraise, and then you also need money for the renovation. So the big thing with the hard money lenders is you really have to know how to evaluate the property, and you have to. It's a the clock starts running, right? So hard money lenders right now, from my understanding of my friends who are hard money lenders, it's about 12% a year. Uh, and they'll give you the 12% rate for 3 months. After 3 months, it'll jump up to 15% or 18%. And mainly it's because they want you in and out of that loan very quickly. They don't want you to hang on to that loan for years and years and years. It's not made like a traditional 30-year fixed mortgage.
Well, and you know, sometimes in this market, you're dealing with cash buyers, and if you don't have the capital, a traditional lender's not going to be able to close you within the requirements needed to fulfill that contract. And I think the hard money lenders, I mean, I know you've had some experience with those guys, and they're closing deals really quickly.
I mean, I was able to close the deal within a week.
Right, and that's going to satisfy most contracts.
Right, because the wholesalers want also to get in and out of the deal very quickly. The sellers are ready to move and take the property as is. Wholesalers want in and out of the deal, and nobody's going to wait for traditional banks to do their inspections. Most of these houses won't even pass inspection. Inspections and appraisals and this and that and all this other stuff. So hard money lenders are the way to go if you don't have a partner or you don't have cash of your own.
So, you know, you've been to the bank, you've met with your lender, you have an idea of how much money you can spend, and now you've either got you a real estate agent or a wholesaler, and now it's time to start evaluating these properties and trying to understand, you know, where this property sits in relation to other homes in the area, where it sits in, you know, does it need a lot of work? Does it need a little bit? Is it just a paint and some landscaping and put this thing back on the market? Or do we have some structural issues? Or do we have HVAC issues? Or what, you know, what's it going to take to get this house back on the market?
So the feasibility portion of whether on how to buy single family homes is the most important piece. This is going to make or break your deal, because if you overestimate how much you're going to sell this property for after it's renovated, or you underestimate the renovations that are needed, you're going to walk away with no money or even money out of your pocket. That's where I recommend either you work with a partner who's done this before. They should have done at least 4 or 5 of these renovations successfully. There are a lot of people who have done them unsuccessfully, right? Where they made no money or they lost money on the deal. They should have done 4 or 5 deals successfully. I myself, and I have a financial background and a construction background, and I still evaluated 30 different properties before I bought my first one. And I had help. I had somebody who had purchased 25, 30 properties successfully and was running them, who actually walked me through on how to evaluate the deal, how to go to the comps, look at the pictures, see what the pictures are showing you as far as what the neighborhood looks like, what the exterior, what the interior, and then be able to go into the house and look at some of the more expensive pieces, which you know all about.
So really, for me, one of the, you know, you want to avoid the big ticket items. You want, you know, like you had mentioned earlier, this is about getting this house, getting it renovated, back on the market in as little time as possible. And I think some of the big ones that you want to look for is, you know, obviously the roof. You know, check your roof out. It can be very expensive. Uh, your air conditioning, HVAC systems, check those out thoroughly. Make sure they're in good working conditions. You know, have an inspection done. If you're not familiar with this equipment, let a third party come out and inspect it and give you a report. Electrical, that can be a big one, especially if you're getting into an older home. I've bought some houses, and I got a house that had aluminum wiring. I had to change all the wiring in it. I mean, it killed the deal, just like you said. You know, and it was a permitting issue. Everything was fine. The electrical functioned fine. However, because of the updated permits, I could no longer use aluminum wire in the house. I had to gut the entire electrical system. Plumbing is another big one that can be really expensive if you have, you know, underground issues, leaks under the slab or foundation. You're talking about thousands of dollars in repairs that, you know, if you don't know that up front, it can really hit your bottom line.
And remember, when you're buying homes from a wholesaler, you don't have a lot of time to bring in your HVAC and your plumber and your electrician and do these inspections. You have to have a partner, or you need to know yourself that, oh, this HVAC looks really old. You know what? I'm going to put a budget line item in there to repair that or to replace it. This roof looks like it's okay. it'll last another 5 years or 10 years, I'm okay with the roof. The foundation, one of the things we looked at, does it have cracks? Do the drywall near the doors, the windows, is that cracking? Oh, the foundation might be sinking. Well, this is my budget line item that I need to put in for that repair. So you really have to know, because from the wholesalers, these houses go very fast. And sometimes it's just somebody will outbid you because they're doing their first house and they're just excited about it, and they'll pay way too much and then they'll lose money on the house. But at the end of the day, if you can evaluate the house, you will keep losing those bids.
I guess the next question is, are you going to flip this house, or is this a house you're gonna own and rent out? And I think that has a lot to do with the upgrades and the repairs that you do to the house and the quality that you do. If this is something that you're going to keep and rent out, you're gonna want to go for maybe a little bit more durable products, maybe a little bit more expensive products. If this is something you're going to flip, you want to take it to the value of the homes in the area. You don't want to overdo it. You could easily overspend on faucets and fixtures and things that may not be necessary to get you up to the market value.
You know, a lot of people that I know have made that mistake. Actually, one guy had reached out to me. He had 4 or 5 homes that he needed to get rid of, and he had purchased them and he was renovating them. And I told him the price that I would pay for it, and he was insulted. And one of the reasons he was insulted is that he said, I put so much work into these homes as if, I were going to live in it. And I said, well, that's your mistake. You're not living in it. You can't, when you're living in your house, you're enjoying the pool and the nice windows and the nice doors. And, that's for you to enjoy. But when you're renovating to sell, or even worse, if you're renovating to rent, you want not very expensive materials. You want easily replaceable materials, right? We don't put custom cabinets like this gentleman did in rental homes, because if the tenant tears it up, you want those Home Depot cabinets that you can easily replace.
Well, that brings up another point. We talked about financing in regards to flipping. How does it differ if you're going to keep the home for a rental property?
So I went through a few of these myself. The market was a little soft, and we wound up renting our houses because we couldn't sell them right away, or we couldn't get the offers that we wanted. So what you have to do is you have to get the hard money loan out. So now you can go to a traditional lender and you can refinance the loan into a traditional investment property loan. And because you already own the property's already been renovated, the traditional lender will ask for an appraisal, inspection, everything should pass, and you're not in a time crunch like you would be with a wholesaler. You are in a time crunch because you want to get the hard money lender out from underneath you, but you're not in that 1 or 2 week time crunch that is required for a wholesaler in order to close the deal with him. So now you have the time, and Fannie Mae, which is the Federal National Mortgage Agency, will finance or refinance up to 10 investment homes before you have to go into the commercial rates.
When looking at the property as a whole, you're surrounded by other properties most of the time. How do you go about choosing the right houses to comp your property? How do you go about, you had mentioned that, you would look at different pictures and get some more information from realtors. What's a solid way to get comfortable with that comp number?
So the way I did it was I would look at a 1/4 mile radius and a 1/2 mile radius of the other houses that sold, not active currently, but sold within the last 6 months. And then you have to kind of, it's a science and it's an art. So for example, a 1/2 mile radius may put you across the street. Well, across the street might be a different school district than your school district, and those might be more expensive homes because it's a better school district. Versus on your side of the street, It's not. So then you have to kind of adjust for that. But I would go through and look at, once I had my area down, I would go and look at pictures. I would look at the kitchen, I would look at the living room, I would look at the floors, I would look at the paint, I would look at the fixtures, uh, like the fans and the plumbing fixtures, the electrical fixtures, and the appliances. If the appliances are all stainless steel, and the countertops are granite, and the floors are all a nice laminate wood, then that's the budget that I will have to put in order to get the value of the house to compare to some of those that have sold. If, however, the houses that are selling are carpeted, then we do carpeting as well. Also have to adjust for the square footage of your house versus the other houses, and the square footage of the lot. Those are two big important things that people don't they kind of forget. The lot is very important. You know, the other houses may have sold for more, but they're on bigger lots. Yours is on a smaller lot. Well, you need to make an adjustment for that.
So Jay, I know you have a really good due diligence checklist for single family homes on the website, albanyparkcapital.com. I think there's going to be a link on the screen. Click on that. I think it'll help you, as a beginner, pretty quickly evaluate a property. But how do you really decide if you walk away from a property or not?
So the due diligence checklist is really good in kind of identifying the areas where people need to look, and then kind of check off, make sure they looked at those. But how much is it going to cost? Well, that's your experience or your contractor that you bring with you, or a partner who has done this many, many times, as we said previously. But at the end of the day, let's say you've done everything, you got your budget together, you did your comps, and you know what it's going to sell for, you know how much you're going to have to put into the property to get it to that level. The formula that I used was, I would take the ARV, which is the after repair value. That's the value that the property is going to sell for. And you subtract out your repairs, subtract out your financing costs, right? Because you're going to have financing costs of carrying interest. Subtract out your selling costs, if there are any, and we'll get into that in a little bit. And then I would multiply it by 80% or 70%. 70% if I were going to flip the property, 80% if I'm going to keep it and rent it out. At the end of the day, I was looking for $20,000 to $25,000 in equity after I sold. Otherwise, I would walk away from the property. If I was not going to make $20,000 to $25,000 per house, once it's repaired and sold, then it's not worth my time. You walk away.
What was the price range of the houses that you were looking at mainly?
So mainly the houses that I was looking at were anywhere between $90,000 to $120,000.
So you were looking at making 20%.
Yeah, absolutely, 20%. And again, there are some people who have theories of, hey, let's buy the house at retail at what it is right now, and property always appreciates, and therefore it will appreciate over time. That is one way of doing it, but that is not my way of doing it. My way of doing it is, when I walk into a property, I need to walk in with equity, because now I know I've purchased it at a real discount. I've put in the sweat equity to fix it up, and now I'm going to be making money on it. And I need to know that on my calculations ahead of time.
So you've done all your due diligence and you've made the decision to move forward with the property. How do you decide whether you're going to flip it or rent it?
So the way I would do it is, I would calculate the rental cash flow. If I were going to make anywhere between $200 and $300 a month net after everything is paid, then I would rent it. If the market is really, really super hot, like it is right now, where renting it won't really do as much, where the flipping it will make a lot more money, let's put it that way, then you go ahead and flip it. Now, as far as renting it, what I would do is, as soon as I have the house, I've purchased the house, I would put ads out onto people in the WhatsApp groups, into newspapers, and realtors. You can always get your realtor involved. Yeah, they'll take 1 month's rent usually, in order to rent the house for you, but they'll be able to find someone a lot faster than you may be able to. And then even when it came to flipping, I would get a realtor involved, and I would make sure that the selling cost or the commission to the realtor is part of my budget.
You know, I saw an article the other day, and it said that it's estimated that over 14 million single family homes are rentals, and they anticipate that to grow over 20% in the next 15 years. So, I mean, I think, it's a safe bet on the rental property side, whether you keep it or flip it. It's just going to depend on your cash flow and appreciation and the types of things you're trying to develop.
Yeah, and there's a lot of horror stories about getting that 2 o'clock in the morning phone call from your tenant. Oh, my toilet is plugged up, or something's happening. I never had that. I had properties and we rented them out for maybe 2 to 3 years before we sold all of them. I never had that issue. The biggest issue I had was sometimes collecting rent because one reason or another the tenant is falling behind, but you have clauses in your lease agreement that basically calls for late fees and things like that. And my tenants always paid late fees. Um, and then, if the tenant happens to leave, to get the house ready again for the next tenant. But, I think that people should not hesitate to pay a realtor, and pay a realtor as soon as possible to get involved to help either sell or rent the house out.
Is that were the realtors your most successful way of renting out or selling the houses?
Yes, my most successful was the realtors, because again, I always put a for rent sign on the lawn as well, but the realtors were the biggest help. Um, and my job is not to try and go rent it out or try and go sell it. My job is to make sure that I'm going to make money during the flip
And to look for the next deal.
and to look for the next deal. That's it.
Well, I hope everybody got a little bit of information on the rental properties for 2025 and how to get started investing. On our next episode, we're going to talk about the short-term rentals.
So we talked about single family residentials. We talked about how to find the property, how to get the financing lined up, and the most important portion, which is how to evaluate the property. We talked about the formula on how to get your numbers together once you have them together, how to decide whether to walk away from the property or not. And this is part one of a 3-part series. Next week we're going to be talking about short-term rentals, and so we want people to be able to watch the episode next week, and then the following week we'll be talking a little bit larger property deals, which is the multifamily, and then we'll be able to wrap it up and help people make a decision as to which direction do you want to go in. So we hope that everybody joins us for the next few episodes.
Yeah, look us up, hit all our social media, and look forward to seeing you next time.